We're encouraging individuals and organizations to send us their proposals for creating programming and activities for our youth during the summer months to keep them busy and safe. This first round of violence prevention money will be for an amount of $550,000. $550,000 with a particular focus on teenagers and young people. Those at risk need to be connected to social services, counseling, education, and employment opportunities. I thank all of you, my colleagues on the council, for voting to support violence prevention fully for once and making sure that we will continue to do that in the future. And we remain committed to preventing tragedies in every part of the community. 5-year-olds should not be shot. We shouldn't have shooting activity several times in one weekend on one block, one corner in Kansas City. We will do better, and we must do better. And we're committed to making sure we do so. With that, I turn it over to my colleague, not just a council person, but the co-chair of Kansas City's Health Commission for the last 4 years, somebody who has been a leader in this area, Councilwoman Ryana Parks-Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I stand here today with a heavy heart for those individuals, those families who have been impacted by gun violence on this corner and far too many corners in Kansas City. When I decided to run several years ago, a few years ago, really what inspired me to run was seeing on the news yet another young life gone too soon. And I would say to myself, as I'm scrolling through my phone or watching the news, somebody's got to do something. And I was led to do something. And I'm so excited that my colleagues and the mayor were also led to do something. Now, while we know this is not enough, this is a start. And I'm excited about the fact that the city has invested in really trying to work to address the root causes of the violence here in Kansas City. If we can save one life, it's worth it. And so I want to encourage you, because like I'm sure there are others who were like me wondering what can I do, or I hope somebody does something. So I want to encourage you to share this information. Hopefully this will be out on the news. It'll be out in our social media. Share this information, because there are many grassroots organizations that are doing excellent work in our city that are seeing success, and we want to ensure that they all have access to be able to apply for these funds and future RFPs that we actually will be putting forward in the months to come. So this is a start. I'm excited that we are actually finally putting our money where our mouth was, and we are doing something about it. And I just have to give credit, because everybody across the country is short-staffed, and Kansas City is no different in that we are short-staffed in our procurement department. So I want to acknowledge the excellent work of the city manager and the health director, Dr. Jones, who you'll hear from shortly, and our procurement department for moving very quickly to ensure that we can get an RFP out on the street. When we started seeing the numbers soar, which unfortunately we're at 58 as of today, and we are on record as having one of the highest years of homicides, and I pray that we can turn this around. But when we looked at the numbers, they agreed with me and said, hey, we've got to do something. Let's move quickly to try to get an RFP out on the street. So I want to acknowledge the work that they've done there. And again, just want to ask everybody to share this information. Thank you for our media partners who are here to help us get the word out about these funds. And with that, I will turn it over to Councilman Brandon Ellington.
Before I say anything, I want to say all praise and glory be to God. I also want to thank Ryana Parks-Shaw for bringing this ordinance to the council, and I'm humbled and glad to be a co-sponsor. This is the reason that I actually ran for office. When we talk about reallocating crime prevention dollars to nonprofits, for-profits, and community organizations that are actually closest to the problem, this is how we eradicate it. When we talk about violence, violence is a learned behavior. When we talk about trauma, trauma is experience, negative, most often negative experience. So again, by opening up RFPs and opening up the grant process and opening up the grant process, we do that by way of the Office of Citizen Engagement. It encourages more nonprofits, for-profits, individuals, business owners, etc. that lives in the community to take ownership. And this is the only way I believe we're going to reduce crime. I don't believe in a law enforcement heavy model, but I do believe in community-orientated crime prevention programs. And with that, I would like to bring up our Director of the Health Department, Dr. Marvia Jones.
Good morning. I'm appreciative of the mayor and city council and to city manager's office for supporting our work. I will provide just a little bit of information about the RFP. So one of the things as we went out and we interviewed community groups, we heard about this idea that there was a lack of hope. There were many people in our community who felt that they just didn't have much hope and that they didn't feel as if there were opportunities that they could take advantage of or allow for their children to take advantage of. And so this first RFP really seeks to at least partially address that concern, where it says, hey, regardless of your ability to pay, you will have an opportunity to send your children to a summer opportunity, programming, summer camps, whatever that might be. And this RFP is really to find convening agencies who can oversee that process and make sure that we can do the best job possible of getting those dollars out to folks, as well as organizations who have ideas about programming but just don't quite have the seats available. They may not have the staff power, but a few extra dollars or a few tens, dozens of thousands could help them provide that opportunity more easily to more kids, more young people. And so we're excited about this opportunity. For more information about it and to see how to actually apply for it, please go to kcmo.gov/bonfire.com. And let's see, I will repeat that. Is kcmo.bonfire.hub.com. Thank you.
And I'll make just two other points, and then I don't know if we have questions or if we'll just move out of the way. I want to make sure I highlight Melissa Johnson in my office, who works on crime prevention efforts, and we have a few different efforts that we are working on now, one of which is actually engaging with club promoters, those who are DJing, those who are putting events together, to make sure that we're talking to them about, in some ways, a shared code of conduct in ways that we will be putting events out so that they can stay safe, so we can make sure there aren't shootings or there aren't types of things that in some way throw some shade on what are actually really important community events each and every day. That's one thing that we're doing that I'm very proud of. The other thing that we are going to continue to do is get out and knock on the doors in the streets each and every day. Sometimes when we say words like prevention and intervention, people don't know what we're talking about, really. What we're talking about is actually the sort of thing that makes just common sense. If your brother was shot yesterday, and if you don't think that the crime will be solved, you may try to resolve that situation in some way that is extrajudicial. What we're trying to tell people is, one, we have access to counseling, we have access to support, and another thing is to not retaliate by shooting back. We need a lot more of that. The way you get to 58 homicides already by this point in the year, which is a record pace in the history of Kansas City, is because we have a whole lot of retaliation that we have not addressed and that we haven't stopped. It's our goal to make sure we get there. As Councilwoman Parks-Shaw said once before, enough. We are tired, and we are all going to make sure, though, that we're not just living with this ongoing cycle of violent crime forever. It's a good time in Kansas City, but we need to make sure it's a good time in every neighborhood for everybody, and it can't be a good time until we address our violent crime concern. With that, any questions, or we all good? All right. Thank you.